Hello, good morning. Welcome to the morning show. Good morning, Africa. It's a lovely Thursday morning, today the 29th of October 2020. And I'm excited about this morning. I hope you're excited too. I hope you're happy about this chance, to take on life and make it meaningful one more time. It's been great this morning. Let me talk you through a bit of what we've done so far. We've had the, morning news. We've had that segment with Ivan where he spoke us through the morning headlines, so I don't need to do that because Ivan has already done that. We also had that very interesting chit-chat with AC and Chidi, which I tremendously enjoyed. Now, though, it's time for the newspaper review. And like always, Pan-African TV always ensures that we have the best panelists to do justice to the news as they have been reported by the newspapers this morning. Let me quickly introduce our special guest for this morning. We have with us Mr. Pratt, Managing Editor, Inside Newspaper, Director, Pan-African TV, and also the Honorable Inusa Fuseni. I say he speaks in, textbook language. I love, just listening to him. Sirs, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Great to have you. I would want us, as always, to start with the African stories. Mr. Pratt, if you don't mind, if you could just pass on the daily graphic. Thank you so much. So let's go straight to that page that has the African stories. It's normally on page 5. And this morning, we are going to be looking at UN calls for end to violence in Cote d'Ivoire. So the UN Human Rights Office is urging the government of Cote d'Ivoire to restrain its security forces and curb violent intercommunal clashes and political protests in the run-up to Saturday, presidential elections. I would want us to tie this in even with what's happening in Tanzania. It's election season in a lot of the African countries. So we are looking at Cote d'Ivoire, we are looking at Tanzania, we are looking at Ghana and what's happening, here. And of course, the interest here is violence, because unfortunately, that seems to be what's happening in all 3 countries. Let's start with you, Mr. Pratt.
Well, the situation in La Cote d'Ivoire is extremely worrying. And indeed, many world leaders and activists are calling on President Alassane Ouattara to ensure that there is no violence, or that the current violence, state of violence, is substantially reduced. First of all, I find it extremely difficult to believe that Alassane Ouattara is capable of ensuring peace in La Cote d'Ivoire, because he is the very cause of the violence. And I have no doubt that Alassane Ouattara is at the center of the violence in La Cote d'Ivoire, not just now, but even before. We recall that Alassane Ouattara came to power virtually through a coup d'etat, which he staged with the help of Guiraud Soro, who later became Speaker of Parliament and who now has fallen out with Alassane Ouattara. It is they who mobilized rebels from the north of the country and also from Burkina Faso and Liberia and toppled the popularly elected government of Laurent Gbagbo. There are so many people who claimed that Laurent Gbagbo refused to accept an election result. That is obviously false. It is false to the extent that the results of that election, which the so-called international community accepted, was not announced by the Electoral Commission of La Cote d'Ivoire, and was also not validated by the Constitutional Council of La Cote d'Ivoire. Indeed, a member of Alassane Ouattara's party went to a hotel room and single-handedly declared that Alassane Ouattara has won the election. That was against the fact that the Ivorian constitution requires that election results are validated by the Constitutional Council, and the Constitutional Council did not validate it. Beyond that, Laurent Gbagbo did not reject the results of the elections. What Laurent Gbagbo did was to call for a recount of ballots, which is normal in any civilized society. Alassane Ouattara refused or insisted that there should be no recount of ballots, and instead, with the assistance of French soldiers stationed in La Côte d'Ivoire marched on the presidential palace and staged a coup and forcibly removed Laurent Gbagbo from power. It is significant to note that in the run-up to that election, many questions have been raised about the nationality of Alassane Ouattara. Indeed, some forms that he himself had filled whilst applying for international jobs had indicated that he was a Burkinabe. There were attempts to use that against him, and Laurent Gbagbo and his party insisted that, look, they could beat him fair and square, and therefore he should be allowed to contest the elections, even as there were disputes about his nationality. Then there was the issue of his age. I mean, it was stated that he was above the age limit, and yet, to ensure peace and so on, Gbagbo and his people insisted that he should be allowed to contest the elections in spite of doubts about his age and so on. He was allowed to contest the elections. So he came to power on the basis of a coup d'etat. It was a coup d'etat. It was an armed rebellion which brought him to power. Now, having been to power, he's taken many steps to consolidate his power, some of them clearly unconstitutional, and because they were unconstitutional, the constitution had to be amended in order to make it look legitimate and legal. One of them, for example, is running for a third term. The Ivorian constitution frowned on running for a third term. You understand? And the constitution had to be amended so that Alassane Ouattara could run for a third term. Alassane Ouattara has practically banned all the known contestants, all the formidable contestants. As we speak, Giron Soro is in exile in Barcelona, in Spain, you know, because of the machinations of the Ouattara regime. As we speak, in spite of the fact that Laurent Gbagbo had won his trial, had been declared, you know, to be innocent of the charges brought against him at the International Criminal Court, Laurent Gbagbo is not allowed to enter La Côte d'Ivoire. The Ivorian government has refused to issue him with an Ivorian passport, which would then enable him to enter La Côte d'Ivoire and so on. So all of these machinations is what has caused the violence. And the violence is really spilling over. You know, last week, a university campus was attacked by Tonton Macoutes, apparently organized by Alassane Ouattara and his henchmen. And in the process, the students managed to mobilize and killed 4 of the members of the vigilante group. You know, the house of one of the leading opposition leaders has been burnt. There's mayhem on the streets of La Côte d'Ivoire and so on. And I think the time has come for somebody, for some people, for some credible institutions to tell Alassane Ouattara in the face that enough is enough, and that he would not be allowed to plunge not just La Côte d'Ivoire, but the whole of West Africa into chaos. I mean, as a result of that rebel action which brought him to power, even as we speak now, there are hundreds, if not thousands of refugees from La Côte d'Ivoire who are now domiciled in Ghana. If the situation should escalate, if violence should escalate, we should be expecting a lot more Ivorians in Ghana as refugees and in other neighboring countries already. Now, it's important to know that West Africa is already in serious turmoil. I mean, you go to Nigeria, you have the Boko Haram situation, you have the low-intensity civil war in the Niger Delta area. Now you have the EndSARS movement, and you have all kinds of religious and ethnic tensions within Nigeria. For Cameroonians, those in the south, they consider themselves as West Africans. So you're talking about Ambazonia, those who have declared themselves as Ambazonia, and the situation there is also not pretty, it's not healthy. Burkina Faso is in a state of turmoil, Mali is in a state of turmoil, Guinea is in a state of turmoil, and all the intelligence reports I've seen about West Africa suggest that the Islamic insurgency is sliding downwards. It's already hit Burkina Faso, and there are some speculations that the whole of West Africa could be hit by this Islamic insurgency and so on. So to sit back and allow Alassane Ouattara to behave in this reckless manner is not in the best interest of West Africa.
Absolutely, Mr. Pratt. My question from all that from what you've been saying so far is, and here, just to sort of pick lessons, because I really believe in that. You were speaking of bending the rules at some point to make way for peace, because we realized that his nationality is questionable. We overlooked that. We realized that, a series of things. He bended constitution at some point. We overlooked all of that. At what point do we decide that peace means playing by the rules also? Because sometimes we seem to have created an artificial peace.
I'm not for one moment saying that rules should be bent in order to make for peace. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that that's what the Laurent Gbagbo regime did.
Isn't that something other African countries can do too, or pick lessons too? I mean, I want us to pick lessons here. It's possible that in our journey, in all of this democracy that is alien to us, that we are finding our way clear, sometimes we tend to overlook a few things. And then, I'll give a practical example. Here in Ghana, when the balloting exercise happened, I listened to Peter Otokuno, Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, speak about specific things that had happened in the process that he did not think were right. And I remember people in at the time saying, well, but you are not challenging the process. You are not saying there's been rigging, so let's move on. And he kept saying, no, I want it on record that this and this could have been done better, just to state the facts as are. My question is, would that be the way to go for peace, or would just ignoring and allowing certain things go every now and then rather be the way for peace?
The will of the people must be allowed to be expressed, and the will of the people, as far as I can tell, it's enshrined in the supreme laws of our lands, the constitutions and so on. So let it work. And if it works, if there's fairness, if there's no bias and so on, we would have peace.
Absolutely. At this point, I'd like to bring you in, Honorable Minister Hussaini.
Thank you so very much. And let me say good morning to my brother, Mr. Pratt, good self, and
viewers. Indeed, just recently, I was reading a book by one renowned political philosopher in the United States of America who said that it appears that democracy is on the retreat. It's on the retreat because, from his perspective, I think that was Sutherland, from Peter Sutherland. From his perspective, we no longer have two ideological worlds. That is the socialist world and the free world, free market. Now we now have the Islamic world. The Asians are coming out, and their system and governance and everything is different, and they're becoming a force in society. And a lot of these configurations have their way of thinking of how to rule a country and how to secure for the development of that country, and that is impacting our traditional notions of democracy. What is more challenging to us as Africans? Our retreat is not based on ideology. Our assault on democracy is not based on any ideology. It's based on personal idiosyncrasies. And that is more worrying. There's no coherent strain of matters or things that you can see that clearly points to the fact that Africa as a people, we are beginning to think that this is how we should rule our continent for the development. You don't see it. You see it based on what a certain leader does to protect himself in power. And that is more worrisome. That is a veritable threat that must be countered. I have said that Alassane Ouattara ought to have been the last person to have done what he's doing. Why? He was excluded from the electoral process. He was excluded. He was said not to be an Ivorian. When Konambedi won the election, he said no, he didn't win. He encouraged soldiers to take up guns against Konambedi. Konambedi was humiliated and sent to the International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice found that he was not responsible for the carnage in Ivory Coast. Konembede cannot come back and contest elections because of Alassane Ouattara. Can you just imagine? First of all, Alassane Ouattara engineered the uprising in Ivory Coast with the active participation of the military. Alassane Ouattara was the reason, his desire to be president was the reason why many Ivorians were killed. Because with the help of France, he captured Konembede and sent him to the International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice came to the conclusion that Konembede could not be held responsible for the carnage in Ivory Coast. Konembede cannot return to Ivory Coast. I mean, if this is not impunity, tell me what it is. And that is just because of the personal idiosyncrasies of Alassane Ouattara. It's not by any African theory of no. Because Alassane Ouattara himself had earlier on indicated that he was leaving the scene of government. He had anointed his successor. But like we planned and got two plans, his successor was taken ill and died. Alassane Ouattara doesn't see anybody, any other body in Ivory Coast qualified to run for the presidency except him. Now that he has
not in trouble, Honorable.
We're in trouble. We're in trouble just like Magafuli. For Magafuli to be elected the second term, yesterday, at the day for yesterday, he arrested the leading opposition party member who had escaped an assassination attempt 7 years ago. This is Tanzania. Magafuli. Banned WhatsApp and Facebook. Internet platforms have been closed. Today they are voting. So what is it about? What is it about the theory of Africa? It's just the personal idiosyncrasies of Magafuli.
It's a scary.
So for me, what the UN is seeing is that there's a gradual slip back to where Ivory Coast was. Ivory Coast is on the brink of the precipice. And if caution is not taken, if care is not taken, if the leaders of Ivory Coast are not cautioned, and particularly Alassane Ouattara, Ivory Coast might slip. Ivory Coast, as we speak today, is the fastest growing economy in sub-Saharan Africa. They have grown consistently at 7% for the last 4 years. A country that has come out of war and performing so well, you don't want it to go back to war.
Not at all. My question now is the UN the best body to intervene? But what are African organizations doing? Shouldn't we, first of all, look within ourselves for solutions before we...
African leaders have displayed, and particularly West African leaders have displayed a remarkable lack of confidence to deal with Ivory Coast. I mean, to go back to Mali, when Mali was boiling, we all saw it. We all saw it. In fact, maybe like I told the Nigerians when they engage in their NSAS, maybe it is time for a new thinking of leadership in Africa and in African countries, and particularly West Africa. How many years was Nkrumah when he became president? Around 34. Look at what he achieved. Because he was building it for himself. Because Nkrumah was going to be around for quite some time.
I don't know, but let's just go back to ideology.
Octogenarian leaders in office. and you think that they're always praying for life and then and going to hospital to maintain their health.
Here, political parties insist they are socialists. No. And Honorable would correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
You have a situation where the MPP says that its ideology is property owning democracy.
That's not capitalism.
It is. It is
but
right.
They don't own capitalism, Mr. Pratt.
They say they are not capitalists. I don't call them capitalists, actually. I call them neoliberals. I call them neoliberals because if you look at Kufuor, you look at Nana Akufo-Addo, you look at MPP, and you look at what Mahmoud Bawumia has been saying, pure capitalists. And I told the executive secretary of the Dankwa Institute, I think here at Pan Africa, that probably he was not understanding the Dankwa Buza tradition. If you say you are conservatives, you are capitalists, then there are certain things, because the fundamental notion of capitalism is that there's no free lunch in the world. And so you should not be concerned about interventions.
Social interventions.
Yes, you should not be. I mean, they should not become your lead policy. But MVP, every now and then, they are challenging people to mention one social intervention. That's why I think that yes, they might be conservatives. They might have derived their political philosophy from conservative thinking, Republican thinking, but they are not capitalists.
Is the NDC socialist?
The NDC is not a socialist party. The NDC is a third force party. Third force because you have people who were not Nkrumahs, who are presently within the NDC, and who are contributing to the development of the party, and who have never professed a belief in socialism or Nkrumahism. And there are people who are die-hard Nkrumahs in the party. And these two groups of people have come together. And that's why we are a third force. That's why you see that you can see. So I can say that we are realists.
That's what the NDC and the MPP are realists.
We are
I think we should focus on discussing the African story as an African, story, and reserve the other spaces for discussing local issues and so on. Because if we commingle, all of this and so on, the essence of discussing an African story is lost.
okay.
You understand? This ideological thing, I mean, NDC says the Social Democratic Party.
Yes.
Social democracy has nothing to do with socialism.
Socialism. Yeah.
In fact, it's a variant of capitalism. NPP clearly, from its philosophy and so on, it's a capitalist-oriented organization. Finished. That's all.
I want us to look at another African story before we go. It says Comic Relief Charity to stop sending celebrities to Africa. First of all, the name of the organization I find very interesting. It says Comic Relief. So the charity is called Comic Relief Charity. And I read a bit of the story. It says Comic Relief will stop sending celebrities to Africa after criticisms that stars such as Stacey Dolly were going to Africa as white saviors. The charity will also stop using images of starving people or critically ill children to portray the continent, it has announced. Instead, its fundraising appeals will be made by local filmmakers with a more authentic perspective. Now, that's something we've been talking about forever. This idea of the white savior who would come to Africa and save Africa's children and Africa's people. And I find it interesting that today, the West's own charity organizations are seeking to change their style. And if I'd read further, I'd have read, a portion where it says, maybe we've been pushing on the same button for too long. So just brief commentary and then we come to Ghana straight away.
I think that basically is another reawakening, facing the reality of the situation in the world. The people all over the world have certain, everyone believes, they hold firm to certain beliefs. And nobody, even in our constitution, it is provided that the dignity of a person is inviolable. Now, Africa, like Ali Mazuri said, Africans appear to be lost people. We find three Africans. One is in the Bubu, which is of Arab origin. The other is in the suit, which is of European, and the third is in an African wear, which is African. So you don't know three African stars, and you cannot immediately identify whether they are Africans and how Africans, apart from the color of their skins. And so, people have a feeling that to always send people of different color, different civilization, who come to us to talk down upon us, is demeaning in substance. So, I think that those European countries and some other countries are beginning to feel that yes, to try to help the African continent, we must use their own people who are like them. You know, because the whole thing about African life is that the life belongs to Africans, and they want to see success stories like them, like people who are like them, who have succeeded. Okay, to talk to them. They share the pain, they share the feeling, the commitment and the zeal to be able to transform Africa. They don't think that, and we have never thought that. And if you go back to literature, I mean, when the white man came, Africans really thought that he was foolish. Yes, they thought he was foolish, and they thought he was like a ghost, somebody dead or free, someone dead incarnate. But now. But they use that, and then we're giving them when they wanted land, we gave them, because we didn't sell land. So who is this foolish man who comes and he thinks that he has, take it, you will die and they will bury you only a corner of the land. That was the thinking. But they succeeded in changing our philosophy. We want people who think like us, who don't put material gains ahead of everything, who don't talk down upon us, who don't come and see us hungry and take our pictures and exploit us. That's what comic relief is trying to react to.
But they are named though, Comic Relief.
No, Comic Relief, that's the name they think that they can market.
Coming to Africa to save Africa.
Yes.
Mr. Pratt, let's take your take on this one.
Well, it doesn't matter where you take the history of our contact with the Europeans from. It doesn't matter whether you take it from the issuance of the paper bull.
Okay.
Or even before then, you know, in the BCs and so on. The basis of that relationship has been exploitation. The basis of that relationship has been oppression and so on. And indeed, many of the non-governmental organizations which come from the West actually mimic that. Now, we in Africa have not helped ourselves very much, you know, through the kind of education that we've had and so on. And one of the things that really amazes me is when I see schools in our teachers in elementary schools, for example, write questions for exam, and the questions are simply, you know, what were the benefits of colonialism? And so, I mean, we ourselves have developed mentalities which are not in our best interest. The way out for Africa's development is not through non-governmental organizations, whether they are well-intentioned or not. The way out for Africa's development is to ensure that the objectives of the independent movement are obtained, are achieved. And what are these objectives? The principal objective is that we should have the ability to elect our own leaders. Second objective, we should own our own resources and exploit them for our benefit. And if we did that, there's no reason why there should be poverty and misery in Africa. And if you read Nkrumah's book, Africa Must Unite, Nkrumah makes the point quite clearly that Africa alone has about 50% of the world's total resources. And he's talking about all the resources. He's talking about cobalt, he's talking about iron, he's talking about manganese, he's talking about diamonds, he's talking about gold, he's talking about, the forests, he's talking about human beings and so on. If you put all of that together, Africa is the richest continent in the world. And if we were to own our own resources and to exploit these resources for the benefit of the working people in Africa, poverty will be eliminated. If we fail to do that, Oxfam will come and go. Comic Relief will come and go. British overseas development agencies will come and go. US aid will come and go. Africa will still be poor.
Africa would still be poor, sure. Let's come straight to Ghana and let's look at this story on the front page of the Daily Guide. It says, don't underrate COVID-19. Stories on page 3 of the newspaper. It says, Ghanaians have been advised not to ignore the safety protocols needed to combat COVID-19 just because the infection rate appears to have subsided in the country. So soon, a greater number of Ghanaians appear not to be taking the protocols seriously, as the use of face masks, regular washing of hands with soap under running water, and the social distancing rule have been abandoned. Bishop Dr. Charles Aban, founder and president of the International Clergy Association, who gave the advice, said the public should not belittle the impact of coronavirus and stressed the need for all stakeholders to collaborate in addressing the issue. He said any attempt to downplay the impact of the virus could erode the successes chalked up by Ghana in the fight against the virus. Honorable.
Yes.
Coronavirus is still around. Europe is experiencing the second wave. Germany will close down on 1st November. The Spain is closing down some cities. France is closing down, except schools. So the second wave of coronavirus is on. India has recorded its 1 million case of coronavirus.
Let's not forget Brazil.
Brazil
also.
too. I mean, India is second only to America in the record of coronavirus cases. But there are also countries that have done tremendously well. Taiwan, only 7 people died out of coronavirus. They were able to contain Hanoi, I mean, having borders with China,
yes,
where the disease is said to have originated, but they have not experienced the devastating effects of coronavirus. So countries have said, and the United World Health Organization has said, that the approach to fighting virus depends on individual countries. Now, what they have said is for us not to spread fear. Okay, we should understand the disease and take precautions. So they issued protocols. Now, scientists are still investigating why the coronavirus has not devastated Africa. Before, at the time that it was coming, they said that because we have weak health systems, Africa was going to be hard hit by the virus, because they did not think we had enough hospitals to take care of people who had symptoms of coronavirus. We build closer to each other. Look at the ghettos. I mean, so you can't maintain social distancing in Africa. That we are poor, we cannot even buy face masks. And so they thought the effects of the pandemic, if it hit Africa, would be disastrous. But somehow, in all things that have happened, you have to give thanks to God. With all this, I mean,
you don't think science has anything to do with it?
No, science.
Now that we are thanking God.
I think science has got everything to do with it. I have sat on this platform with my brother Pratt, and we've said that we must be led by science. And we should not be led with science, with the one with SIGN. We must be led with the SCIENCE. That's so. When Nana Akufo-Addo, the president, was playing with us and putting the economy first,
asking us to pray and fast.
Yeah, we thought that he was missing the point. So I believe in science. I mean, we must be led by science in everything about your life. You must be led by science and logic of the situation. So I thank God, because our leaders did not show enough understanding of science. They were not led by logic, but somehow we have not been hit drastically by the pandemic. But it's always important to understand that the pandemic can come back. All through history, plagues have a second wave. So the second wave is now being experienced in Europe. The second wave is being experienced in America. The second wave is being experienced in Spain, in France, in Germany. There could be a second wave in Africa, which could be more disastrous. In fact, history teaches that the second wave has always been more deadly than the first wave. Now, scientists are saying that we won't have a vaccine before 2021. And even if the vaccine comes into being, it is by 2022 that we can have universal coverage. And it coincides with even the virus. The trajectory of development of virus is that by 2022, all of us will develop herd immunity, and then we can fight it ourselves without it. So we are in dire straits, and because we are in dire straits, you need to protect yourself. You need to protect yourself. Maintain your social distancing. Wash your hands when you touch objects. Wear your face masks. Ensure that you don't go to places which are crowded, because it can, like Anthony Fauci said of Trump rallies, they are potential super spreaders of the virus. And so don't go to crowded places, and then we'll see what. So I think that the advice is well intentioned. We have thrown caution to the wind and to the docks because we are in the campaign season. People are now congregating to be able to meet their political leaders, to be inspired to go out on the 7th of December to vote. While we are doing that, I beg that I think that the doctors and the researchers should be busily working to see what are the likely hotspots that can spread coronavirus.
Absolutely. This week, one of our celebrities came out to say she had just contracted the virus.
Yeah.
And she came out to caution that
Yeah.
she's just had it this week.
Yeah.
And so all of us should be careful. I thought there was a new normal. Mr. Pratt, do you think there's a new normal, or you think that it's back to business as usual?
No, look, this talk of new normal is absolutely nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. Yes, and the science does not back it. 3 days ago, the African Union actually issued a statement warning African countries that we could go back to the lockdown situation.
Yeah.
Why did the African Union issue that statement? What have they seen that the rest of us have not seen? Only yesterday, the British Broadcasting Corporation actually reported that even for those who have recovered from the coronavirus attacks, their immune system has been degraded.
Yes.
Degraded by more than 50%. You understand? Now, what this whole talk about herd immunity and so on is that if we allow the disease to reign and so on, because the viruses will be introduced into our bodies will then be able to build up our immune system so that it will not have this devastating effect. The scientific evidence is that the body is not able to build the immune system to the extent that it can withstand the virus. And indeed, the scientific evidence is also that for those who get a second infection, it is usually more serious than the first infection.
Yes.
So that dismisses the whole argument about herd immunity and new normal and all that crap. It dismisses it completely. You understand? Now, if you look at Africa and elsewhere, we are beating our chest and patting ourselves that we are doing so well. I'm not so sure that we are doing that well. You understand? Because now, who gets tested? Those who get tested are those who are returning from abroad or those who are traveling outside the country. And those who have had the virus. You understand? And then it is suggested that there's also what they call contact tracing. You understand? So if you don't get the disease, nobody gets tested. Now, how are we to know the cause of death of the so many people who are dying in Ghana and elsewhere in Africa on whom post-mortem examinations are not conducted? Has anybody studied the number of people who have died in this COVID pandemic and compared those figures with before? What is the rate of death now as compared to, say, 2 years ago? Nobody has done that study. And yet here we are, patting ourselves on the back and jumping around and claiming that we have achieved success. What is the basis of that success? If you go to a place like China, they were doing random mass testing. So in China, it didn't matter whether you contracted the virus or not. It didn't matter whether you were showing symptoms or not. They just catch you and test you. Okay? So at the end of the day, you have a fair idea of the numbers involved. Why? Britain is doing random mass testing. There are many countries which are doing random mass testing. We in Africa are not doing random mass testing, which is the only way of determining the extent of the disease. So we should stop this joke. We should stop patting ourselves on the back and creating an illusion that the disease is behind us. I've traveled around the country and I get shocked. There are many places in Ghana now that if you go and you're wearing a mask, you are the strange person in town.
That's true.
You are the strange. Many people have stopped this hand washing protocol Many people are not using sanitizers anymore. Many people don't care to wear masks, you know, because we are being told that we have defeated the disease. And if we have defeated the disease, why should I be wearing masks and so on? This deception by some of the people in the health establishment and by political leaders can cause a lot of trouble for us in the future. And that's exactly what this Reverend Minister is talking about. That's exactly what the African Union is talking about. That's exactly what the World Health Organization is talking about. And everybody is warning us that the pandemic is not over. It can get worse. And here we are tickling ourselves that we have solved the problem, or we are solving the problem. There's no cause for alarm. Well, let's carry on. And let's allow our leaders to deceive us, to continue to deceive us.
I want to bring in the viewers at this point, so I'll read a few of the messages that we have received so far. This one is from A.U. Farouk in Tamale North. Hi, A.U. Farouk. I had the privilege of meeting him when I was in Tamale. It says, good morning to you, my lady, and to your abled panel. 2021 advance budget. Government to spend 27.4 billion. Why? Where is this family and friends MPP government heading Ghana to? God save us from the hands of this incompetent and substandard government. Thank you so much, A.U. Farouk in Tamale. This one says, good morning, Pan-African TV. I always can't wait to hear my role models speak on issues. Mr. Pratt, actually, this government is doing more harm than good to the people of Ghana. Come 7 December, JM all the way. His name is Haruna Usman from Tamale. This one says, well, that's a lot. Good morning, Amma, and your panelists. Amma, dishonesty and lies are killing Nana Akufo-Addo and his government, because John Dramani Mahama left MPP government $370 million on second funds. Okay, more figures. NPP and Akufo-Addo should know the days of lies and disease are over, because Ghanaians are now awake. Good morning. Well, good morning to you too. This one says, good morning, Pan-African TV. Okay, so your question is very personal. I'll answer it at the end of the show. Don't worry. I'll answer your question. This one says, good morning, Madam Host. Any your panelists, Mr. Pratt's ideas are always good. Keep it up. His name is Seidu Agusilari from Bekwai. This one says, okay, A.U. Farouk, I think I've read your message already. This one says, hi, Amma. Today you're hosting, okay, the best thing ever. His name is Mohammed, inside Dakami area in Tamale. Mohammed, I promise you, it's a strange occurrence. This one says, hi, Amma. Kindly remind the honorable member that he's making reference to Lauren Bagbo and not Conan.
Laurent Gbagbo. Okay,
yes, his name is Wofa
Laurent
Tichugu in Tamale.
Yeah, Laurent Gbagbo.
It happens. It happens when you speak.
Yes.
This one says,
Laurent Gbagbo, yes.
yes. This one says, Honorable Fuseni. Okay, so the same thing. This person is from watching from Ouagadougou. His name is Amedeke.
Okay.
I hope I got your name right.
Yes.
This one says, I love this program so much, especially today. Tell your panelists to to debate for the public. Okay, big words, sure. His name is Don Lad. Don Lad seems to say that we should break down the words. He thinks some of the words are a little too big for him. This one says, ask the MPP man. There's no MPP man in the studio. Wrong message. This one says, please draw. Okay, so the same issue. Sure, Mr. Thompson Bauer. I think it was just a slip of
Yes. It's Laurent Gbagbo, not Konabidi.
Yes. Okay, so let's go on. I think I've done. Okay, sure. This one says, hi, comrades. Intention does not always translate into action. The more NDC lies about Ghana's economy, the more IMF will expose them. Hate can't win. His name is Rahim Janjantwan, the special one in Tamale. This one says, good morning, Amma and your great panelists. I am Jijom in Taifa. Jin Mensa, Nanado and the MPP are bent on their diabolic evil plans to destroy this country. But man, their war drums will play back to themselves very, very loudly. Nanado's number one is a warning to all Ghanaians. By God, the man is the biggest number one. Okay, sure. Oh, sure. This one says, John from OT region, as state institutions like the judiciary, security services, and EC have lost their dignity under this NPP administration. Chiefs, Christian Council, opinion leaders, wake up. Ghana is heading to a situation which is unbearable. Look at how friends, relatives, and loved ones are dying. Right. This one says, GM, my lady, and your noble panelists. Okay. Sure, I am. Just to answer your question. This one says, Maame, the Soforiata budget read yesterday was not for development, but to pay their ministers. His name is James from Kumasi. This one says, Uncle Kwesi and Honorable Inusa Fuseni, Ghanaians as well as Dagbon appreciate you. You're truthful, loyal, sure. God bless you. His name is Sadiq in Tamale. Right. This one says, best discussion ever. Tell your panelists that if they can act on the knowledge they are discussing now, Africans, we have hope. His name is Ayedani Samuel from Sunyani. Okay, so let's do the story, which is on the Ghanaian, it's on the front page of the Ghanaian publisher. It says, Mahama is not Biden. And this is a statement attributed to Kojo Opon Kroma. He says Mahama was overwhelmingly rejected by voters in 2016. Biden wasn't. Let me read a bit of the story. It says here, Information Minister Kojo Opon Kroma has quashed attempts to draw similarities between the 2020 US and Ghana presidential elections. According to him, attempts by some to suggest that a win by Republicans in the US will lead to a win by the NPP in Ghana are unfounded. Mr. Trump in the US has no similarity as a candidate to President Akufo-Addo of Ghana. While Nana-Addo is delivering several impactful programs, including successes in the COVID fight, the case of the US may be different. While Mr. Biden was not rejected at the polls by voters in 2016, Mr. Mahama was massively rejected by Ghanaian voters. While Mr. Biden's running mate, Senator Harris, is an accomplished senator who has added a spark to his candidacy, the same cannot be said of the NDC. Totally disagree. There is no similarity between the elections in the US and the elections in Ghana. It goes on and on and on, but I'm sure you can understand the impact of the story. I mean, great season is an election seasons are always a great time. What do you say to this, Honorable Husseini?
Well, I don't know what. No one speaks about the absolute and the obvious.
I think this topic can be dismissed very quickly. First of all, we are not engaged in superstition. If you want to engage in superstition, you can go on and do all of that and so on.
Yeah.
Besides, I mean, there are similarities. You understand? That's not the basis for saying whether Biden is going to win or lose, or whether Mahama is going to win or lose. But there are similarities. Indeed, the Republican Party and the New Patriotic Party, they have the same symbol. The New Patriotic Party was very happy with the election of Donald Trump, to the extent that the president actually went to Washington and praised him. And so, that's a similarity. The similarity is that this election is about, all of them, if they lose, they would have lost in the first term. So there are so many similarities and there are so many dissimilarities. That's not an issue. The people of Ghana are going to go to the polls and vote on the real issues. We would make sure that our current level of indebtedness is reduced. We will make sure that people will have access to social services. Who is going to make sure that jobs are created. Who is going to make sure that we'll build a society based on the principles of equality and social justice and so on. Those are the issues. Finish.
Well, Ghana is not United States of America. Mahama is not Joe Biden. But both are contesting elections. Joe Biden represents the Democrats.
And in fact, we're telling Kojo Opon Kroma that if the 2016 election result are what we are going by, then there's no need for another election
today. In fact, so what Kojo Opon Kroma is saying is begs the question. People are watching American elections closely. And it's not only Ghanaians. Everywhere, people are watching the American elections. BBC devotes close to 1/3 of their bulletin to watching the American elections. Everybody. And so if Ghanaians are watching the American elections, and it appears that Biden is going to win, and that wind of change is blowing in America, are they entitled to expect that the wind of change will also blow in Ghana? And if they think that way, what's wrong with that?
We do that all the time, don't we?
We do that all. I mean, even Nigeria, we do that all the time.
Yes.
But
we do that. Is it scientific, though, Honorable? Is it a scientific thing to do? Has it been proven to be scientific?
Well, it's not scientific, but we do it. My concern is about Kojo Nkrumah saying that Ghana has not been declared HIPIC.
That's the next topic. So you can shoot.
Yes.
Okay, so let's dig right in. A dishonest game of numbers.
Look, let's dishonest view of numbers.
Which is on the front page, Honorable, of the Insight newspaper. Today's edition. The story is on page 3 of the Insight.
Let me first of all tell you that when you go to the World Bank, their official page, IBRD, IDA, data, and you come to GDP, current US dollars, heavily indebted poor countries, and you scroll down, they'll give you graphs. They'll give you graphs, and you scroll down, and you will see heavily indebted poor countries. Is that not what they call HIPIC?
Yes.
Let me mention the names of the countries. Afghanistan, Benin, Bolivia, Burkina Faso, Burundi, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Comoros, Congo Democratic Republic, Congo Republic, Ivory Coast, Eritrea, Ethiopia, the Gambia, Ghana, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Guyana, Haiti, Honduras, Liberia, Madagascar, Malawi, Mali, Mauritania, Mozambique, Nicaragua, Niger, Rwanda, Sao Tome, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Somalia, Sudan, Tanzania, Togo, Uganda, Zambia. Have you heard Ghana's name there?
Absolutely.
That's the official page. That is the official page of the World Bank. And Kojo Nkrumah, if he doesn't know the official page, he can contact me. I will give it to him. Now, why is Ghana HIPIC? Why is Ghana HIPIC? You see, and that's why this write-up by this story by the Insight, a dishonest game of numbers, is very important. You see, I have always said that as politicians, Masa, the least we can do is to be honest, because we are seeking to lead people. A dishonest commander cannot lead people to soldiers to victory in war. Dishonest person. If you are a dishonest politician, if you are a liar, you can lead people. Your credibility will be tarnished totally. And that is why when we speak this way, people think that we are hard on God. No, the least what do we used to call it? The least common factor. LCF, or least common denominator. That one should be honesty and integrity. That one. 2 million years ago, my grandfather had a dog. My grandfather was the Yohandana. And he had a dog, and he called the dog, "We are all here." Disabilakwi.
Say it again.
We are all here.
No, the
Disabilakwi.
Disabilakwi.
Yes, we're all here. We're all here, Masa. When in 2016, Ghana's debt to GDP was way below what Ghana's debt is today. What did Mahmoud Bawumia tell us? Did he tell us we were leading the country to collapse? And that we were just living on borrowing? Even Gabi Ochiridako added his own twist. He said if a government only comes to borrow to develop, even a half-wit can be the president. We're all in this country. We are not going anywhere. Mahmoud Bawumia organized a lecture at Valley View University and said if you say your economy is strong, the fundamentals of the economy, if you say your city is strong, the fundamentals of your economy will expose you. We're all here. We didn't go anywhere. What has changed? Maybe George Orwell's book. We are now in an Orwellian era. Animal Farm. Orwellian era. Because when it is somebody else, is so bad that it should not be tolerated. But when it is us, it's good. Yeah? That was what the pigs said. When they were fighting man, they said 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. When they got the power, they started to walk on their hind legs. And they now said 4 legs good, 2 legs better. 2 legs better. Now, my sister, Ghana's debt to GDP, when John Dramani Mahama, who was said to be incompetent, was leaving office, Ghana's debt to GDP was 55.6%. For the whole 4 years of John Dramani Mahama's administration, he borrowed 54 billion Ghana cedis. 4 good years. These 54 added to the debt of Nkrumah, Kotoka, Afrifa, Buzia, Achampo, what's his name? The one who overthrew Achampo. Oh, I've forgotten. Liman and all that. Rollins 1, Rollins 2. All that came to about 120 billion Ghana cedis. On the 6th of January 2016, when John Dramani Mahama was leaving office, for Nana Akufo-Addo to swear the oath of office on the 7th day of January 2016, total Ghana's debt was 120 something, about 120 million total, including the 54 billion that John Dramani Mahama borrowed. By some feat of wizardry, this government has borrowed additional 140 million in 3.5 years. Look, this government has borrowed more money in 3.5 years than all the monies that were borrowed in Ghana from independence to the time to the 6th of January 2016. So they have added 140 billion, not million, sorry, billion to the debt burden. And that doesn't even include the $275 million they removed from the stabilization fund. It doesn't include that. They have brought Ghana's debt, as of June, Ghana's debt to GDP was 68.3%. When 55%, what was his name? Bobia was saying that Ghana was heading towards HIPIC. 55.6%. Bobia said it. Today, June, they were 68.3%. It is projected that by the end of the year, December, there will be 77%.
My goodness.
Just that GDP. And you say that you are not HIPIC because somebody has not said that you are not HIPIC. Because somebody has not said that you are not HIPIC. Anyway, their website lists Ghana as a HIPIC country. And when we say this, the Minister of Finance comes to stand in Parliament and says, by saying that Mahama is incompetent, you are not credible, and so you can. By saying that Ghana is HIPIC, Mahama is not credible. Probably World Bank is not credible because it's on their website. It's on their website.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Please.
I'll end with the motto of Legon Hall of University of Ghana. They tell us, to whom much is given, much is expected. You've taken all these monies. You've taken all the resources. We left you with 2 gas plants. We left you with a lot of resources that could generate, a lot of investment that could generate resources for the administration of this money, this country. You have gone for 140 billion Ghana cedis. We say, we are just asking, show us. I had a lecturer at the University of Ghana, Faculty of Law, Ni Ashikote. He's now a judge of the Supreme Court. Anytime you mentioned a principle or a case, he will say, show me. Bring the evidence of what you have used all these resources for. That is what we are asking for, and this one doesn't make us incompetent.
Case closed. Evidence-based conversation. Mr. Pratt, the Spanish game of numbers.
Well, I've read James Osegu Boateng carefully. And the import of the article is simply that somebody is deceiving us again. To start with, nobody has claimed that the IMF has declared Ghana HIPIC. No such claim has been made. No. In fact, the IMF is not in the business of declaring countries HIPIC. It is countries who declare themselves HIPIC and go for HIPIC relief. So even the IMF is not in a position to declare Ghana HIPIC. That's not the issue at all. So if you send reporters to go and ask the IMF country representative whether or not they have declared Ghana HIPIC, the answer you get is no.
No, they don't do that.
You understand? Now this is like erecting your own dummies, shooting your dummies down, and raising your hand in celebration. That's what Kodjo Nkrumah is doing. He's answering the wrong questions. The real issue is whether or not Ghana has attained HIPIC status. Okay? Now, how do we determine whether or not Ghana has attained HIPIC status? The standard rule is that if you have unsustainable debt, and unsustainable debt is the kind of debt you can't pay.
Can't pay.
If you apply your resources, you can't pay. You have unsustainable debt. Then you have attained HIPIC status. The standard is that if your debt to GDP ratio exceeds 60%, then you have achieved unsustainability. Your debt level has reached unsustainability. So all this argument, and sometimes I'm tempted to use the right words, you understand?
Don't use them now.
All of these foolish arguments ought to be reduced to whether or not indeed Ghana's debt to GDP level has reached 60% or not.
No.
Finish. No more. Now, interestingly, on 24th March 2015, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, His Excellency the Vice President himself, set the standard. He told the people of Ghana at that time that Ghana's debt to GDP ratio had reached 67%, and therefore Ghana was HIPIC. That was on 24th of March 2015. Alhaji Bawumia was the one who declared Ghana HIPIC. 2015, 24th March. And his basic reason was that Ghana's debt to GDP ratio had reached 67%. In fact, at the time, the NDC contested his figures and claimed that the debt to GDP ratio was 55 point something percent. He then came back and said that that was based on the rebasing of the economy. You understand? And that if the economy had not been rebased, Ghana's debt to GDP ratio would be above 67%, and therefore Ghana was HIPIC. Now today, both the IMF and the World Bank tell us Ghana's debt to GDP ratio is around almost 70%. In fact, it is 68 point something percent. You understand? If you go to the IMF website, they are saying that by December, we could reach 76.7%. Is that not a HIPIC status? That's a clear HIPIC status. Yes, sir. And today I'm reading newspapers with editorials condemning public deceit and so on. What is Ghana's debt to GDP ratio? Is anybody challenging the fact that by December we'll be achieving more than 76% debt to GDP ratio? And if you have more than 60% debt to GDP ratio, are you now HIPIC? What is this?
It's crap. I'll provide the word.
What is this foolish gymnastics?
Let's have French on the show this morning, actually.
Extremely foolish gymnastics. What is this about? Look, the truth of the matter is that by January 2017, Ghana's total indebtedness was 122 billion Ghana cedis.
Yes.
As at now, our total indebtedness is 256 billion Ghana cedis. More than double what the situation was on January 7th, 2017.
Master, it has even gone up to 58.
Now, Parliament is still approving loans. As we speak, Parliament is still approving loans. There are documents before Parliament to approve for more loans and so on. So by December, when we'll be going for the election, we'll be heading towards 300 billion Ghana cedis debt. And you say we are not HIPIC. And the only basis of saying that we are not HIPIC,
because the World Bank has not declared,
is that the IMF country representative for Ghana says that his organization has not declared Ghana HIPIC. Is that the basis for HIPIC? The criteria is clear. If your debt to GDP ratio exceeds 60%, you are HIPIC. So we are HIPIC. Ghana is broke. That is the situation.
But Master, how much do we use for debt servicing?
Master, your finance minister is going around the world.
Yes.
Asking for a moratorium of 2 years.
Yes.
That they should give Ghana 2 years, so that we organize us, because we can't pay our debt. By that, the finance minister is agreeing that we have reached the level of non-sustainability
of our debt. And that if
the finance minister himself is saying it.
If so, let's call it in their debt, we can pay.
Now, this same finance minister is in front of Parliament. The finance minister going around the world begging that we should get a 2-year moratorium over debt payments and so on, is standing in front of Parliament and he doesn't feel shy.
Yeah.
He's telling Parliament that Ghana is not HIPIC. If Ghana is not HIPIC, why are you asking for 2 years moratorium on debt servicing and repayment? The deputy finance minister, Edubuahi,
yes,
3 weeks ago, told the Graphic that we are spending 3/4
of our, it was here published here.
Honorable. That we are spending 3/4 of our total national revenue plus grants on debt servicing and principal repayment. The deputy finance minister was the one who told the Graphic, not the palaver, told the Graphic that this is how much we are spending on debt repayment. Is that not HIPIC? Is that not HIPIC? Graphic published 2 weeks ago that total national revenue, the portion of total national revenue we are spending on principal repayment and debt servicing is 91%. Is that sustainable? Is that not HIPIC? As for HIPIC, we are deep inside it. Our legs, our stomach, our heads, every part of our body is inside HIPIC. We are truly HIPIC and Ghana is broke. Finito.
Let's bring in
that Ghana is broke. Let me tell you. Today, even the loans. You know, when you are taking the loan for the implementation of a project, you have Ghana's obligation, which is called Ghana government commitment. In the past, you raise taxes and you use your taxes as commitment. Now Ghana doesn't have money. That one, which is between 10 to 15%, is also a loan. This government goes to borrow that part as well.
Let's bring in the viewers at this point. This one says, "Good morning, Immaculate and Poultry. To Dios." I'm up. Wow. You gave me a word to research this morning. Indeed, these brilliant and equivocal duo, Uncle Kwesi and Honorable Yunus Afuseni, always make my day bright. If Ghanaians really appreciate massive development, able economic management, visionary ideas, and issue-based politics, I don't see why they will vote Akufo-Addo and NPP. President Akufo-Addo has plainly testified to Ghanaians that he is a certified Allah will unseat NPP December 7th and enthrone John Mahama to rescue this nation from the corrupt, inept, deceptive, and high-handed party. His name is Mujib Ronaldo in Techiman South. Mujib, you give me homework today. This one says, "Good morning." Where is it? Okay, missed that. Okay. Good morning. May God bless Mr. Pratt and Alaji Inusa Husseini. This one says, good morning. When NDC MPs are collecting salaries, I think your message doesn't quite end. So if you send it again, Al Hassan from Tamale. I'm happy to read it if you send it again. It doesn't.
No, okay, you can't read it.
No, that's where it ends. So I'm sure there's something missing. Ama, in fact, Mr. Kwesi Pratt is always fantastic in his submissions. I never get tired listening to him. His name is Abu Mo Thomas from Bolga. This one says, Yaya from Nkwanta in Oti region. Hi Yaya, you didn't say much. This one says, if God wants to punish Ghana, NPP will win. Otherwise, NDC will win. The worst that has happened to Ghana is what? Ekufado as president. This one says, good morning, Amma. Tell my senior brother, Yunusa Husseini, that he is what? Okay. Your name is Isa Dawuni Lamakari in Tamale. I promise I'll let him read your message. I think it's pretty personal. I'll let him read it when the show ends. This one says, good morning, Amma. We are enjoying the show. Keep it up. I'm sitting in for Kwame Owusu. So we will make sure we kick this super incompetent government out of power come December 7th. Tell Honorable Yunusa Husseini that we miss him. This is Akali Ali from Tamale Bukuru song.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. This one says, good morning, my lovely sister. My respectable panel. Actually, habits born of my little social and political experiences, I have come to realize that most of the bigwigs of the NPP are okay, that's incorrigible. They do not want correction and they keep on deceiving the innocent and good people of Ghana. They should be voted out immediately in the forthcoming elections, please. Mr. Pratt, keep talking. We are sincerely behind your good and effective office. His name is Addison in Asin Fosu. This one says, this is from Inu Fuseni Sani Turawa in Asaman Kesi. Good morning, Amma, and your panelists. Amma, dishonesty and lies are killing Akufo-Addo and his government. Sorry, because Dramani Mahama left MPP government $370 million, 207 million on Heritage Fund, 2 additional oil fields, etc. But the MPP and Nana Akufo-Addo should know the days of lies and deceit are over because Ghanaians are now awake. Good morning, well, good morning to you too. This one says, I need Mr. Pratt's number. Sure, I'll let him send you his number after the show. This one says, good morning, comrade. This country is suffering and bleeding in the nose and eyes, but it still has the guts to defend gross incompetence. Let's all work hard and sack the elephants back to the bush. It is obvious the MPP has no message for Ghana. It's always the same with propaganda promises and gearing towards corruption. Long live Ghana. Please those calling, stop calling. I can't pick up. The name is Tijani from Ashalaja. This one says, hi comrades, the quality of our work which will please God and not the quantity. Nanado first position is a sign of victory. 4 more to do more. His name is Rahim Janjan Twan in Tamale. This one says, vote GM. His name is Mohammed from Jefferson. This one says, good morning. We Ghanaians, we don't like the truth. And so, okay, sure. You didn't tell us your name. This one says, good morning, good people of Ghana and Pan-African TV, your wide viewers. Logic and science has not been completely applied to coronavirus and the level of infection in Africa. People get cured, and yet we are still being tortured by foreign media. When vaccines are being disregarded and dismissed, our minds are under threat. The real disease starts with our mind. It's mental. True healing starts from our mind. Africa shouldn't be relying on European news. His name is Daton. Thank you, Daton, for your message. This one says, good morning. May Allah bless Mr. Pratt and Alaji Husseini. Indeed, these are 2 personalities who, if put into the presidency, I bet we will go far as a country. His name is Al Hassan Abdul Karim from Tamale, Kali Pohini Estate. I hope I got the name right. Kapohin Estate. Good morning, Amma. We need people like, sure, again, more praises for you, says, good morning, Amma. Please tell Uncle Kwesi not to use all his energy on the MPP government, because the Ghanaian youth need him after we vote out this government. His name is Habib from Tamale. Right. Good morning, fantastic show, fantastic panel. Still, rescue mission. His name is Derico Sadogrino. Wow, our time is up, but I see your messages. Sure. So this is what I'll do. Just before we leave, I'll let, or can I take a little more time just to read, unfortunately, Mr. Pratt has a show, so he has to go. I wanted to squeeze some time out of him, but he's protesting. So what I will do is I'll let them have the tablets after the show so they can read all the, goodwill messages that you keep sending. I love Pan-African TV viewers. You are very expressive and you also contribute very well, meaningfully to the show. We are grateful. Tomorrow morning also, I promise you a great show. You would have Ivan like you did this morning. There's also AC and Chidi. And I will be sitting in for our regular host, Kwame Owusudan. So he's up in the north. So if you're around the northern area, try and catch him and interact with him. I'd like to say thank you to this morning's guest, Mr. Pratt, a very unwilling guest, but I think you've done well. And of course, the Honorable Inisa Husseini, great to have you here always. Such a great time to have you here. So, it hasn't been an easy show, but it's been a great show, thanks to all of you. We will be back tomorrow. Have a lovely, lovely evening. I'll leave you on the words of Honorable Inisa Husseini. He says, to whom much is given, much is expected. Have a lovely day. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
you